Alright, this is one of my favorite writings that I have done so far. It's pretty lengthy. I honestly have no idea what I'm going to have to say in extension to what has already been written because it's quite a bit. But without further ado, here we go. I met this girl in a psychiatric hospital once. She had smoked DMT and had a schizophrenic episode in the wrong environment. Everyone in her life thought she was insane, so they had placed her there. She would pace around the unit talking to spirits all day and would often talk about DMT and how she was traveling in alternate dimensions. She would tell others how she had died and been reborn into new existences, and no one believed her, but I did. I believed her because I've also had these types of experiences, but they were around people who have experience with and understand the power of DMT. She was one of the most powerful mystics I have ever come across in person, but she couldn't understand it. The DMT had opened up large gateways in her brain and she was permanently tripping. The DMT had chosen her, but she was not in the right environment and she did not have the right guidance available to her. She was being misunderstood, misguided, and made to believe that what she had experienced was not real. Her experience may have just been a trip, but it wasn't any less real just because she was the only one to experience it. If she had done this around the right individuals and explained her reality to them, she would have been able to ground herself and understand what happened to her. I often wonder how the reaction the people in her life had affected her. If they had been more understanding of the nature of the type of experience she had undergone and provided a space for her to process, would she have overall responded better to the experience? The shaman and the psychotic are one and the same. What separates them is that the psychotic drowns in their mysticism, while the shaman is able to stay afloat and process all of the energy going on inside and around them. People who are labeled as mentally ill are unable to and have no knowledge of how to process all of the energy that they possess. Most oftentimes, this is depicted as schizophrenia, but all psychological diagnoses can apply. Mental illness is a calling and/or initiation to something much bigger than we realize. It is a tragedy that so many mystics are mistaken for being insane. I believe lots of people are being called to do shamanic spiritual healing work, but most people are really not ready for it and/or do not have the help and guidance available to them. If this information was more widespread and understood by the populace, then less people would go crazy and more people would have guidance about their own mental health and how to go about healing their traumas. DMT is a very sacred medicine and it is incredibly potent. In the wrong hands, it can do a lot of damage. DMT is a powerful tool and ally. It is a portal to another dimension, and you need to have respect for it and be as prepared as you possibly can in order to benefit from it. Not having the utmost respect for this medicine will result in a purely visual experience, nothing energetic that truly touches the soul. It will also yield an experience that is completely confusing, terrifying, or something that will permanently damage your mental state. Learning how to work with this medicine is an ongoing lifelong journey, and it is most absolutely not for everyone. I will argue that microdosing medicines such as psilocybin and LSD is beneficial for all human beings, but the use of DMT is not. You are either called to work with it or not, and if you are, you will know it. I think this was a perfect example of a bad set and setting. There was nothing wrong with the medicine itself. It did not give her a schizophrenic episode like I'm sure her notes claimed. It opened portals in her mind that she was not ready to experience yet. She wasn't in the right environment and she wasn't around the right people. Do not get me wrong. This is a beautiful medicine that has transformed my life and the lives of many, but it is not something to play around with. I've had my fair share of experiences where I've said to myself, wow, this is too much, and I've had to tuck it away for a period of time because even I struggle to understand its complexities and how to actually use it in the most beneficial way. Even in my knowledge of the potency of DMT, I have found myself unable to manage what it does to me on a neurological level. It's given me episodes of psychosis because I was unable to use it respectfully, and I believe this is the medicine warning me not to play around with it. If DMT affects someone this heavily with 10 plus years of entheogenic experience, it will most definitely affect someone who has no clue what they are doing. Just a few years back, I had a very similar experience, but I was blessed to be in the care of someone that understood this medicine to the deepest extent. I wanted to sit with her and explain that she was not crazy. I wanted to explain that she was being called to very sacred work, but this is not something she could even conceptualize due to all of the medication and mind-numbing therapy she was receiving. What she was experiencing was very real, but she was so far gone, medicated, and brainwashed by this establishment that there was no getting through to her. With the way things currently are, only some people are able to begin managing the power they hold. This is why I do the work that I do. I dream of a day when information about how to use DMT correctly and respectfully can be more widespread, because only then will we be able to step into our authentic power and heal the earth. DMT is a very, very potent medicine. I honestly wouldn't even consider it a psychedelic. It's not even a drug. It's literally a portal into another dimension. It just pulls you out of your conscious awareness, and it pulls you out of your reality that you're experiencing, and it puts you into something else, something that is of a higher dimension. When I first started working with DMT, I was feeling called to it quite frequently. So frequently to a point that I was unable to, I guess, understand when the right time to dose myself with DMT was and when it was just time to just wait. This is around the time that I started to experience this intense telepathic communication between specifically the DMT and psilocybin and many other entheogens. And also I started to experience this telepathic communication with a lot of herbs as well. The DMT was constantly telling me that we had a lot of work to do. It got to a point where I didn't understand how to manage that responsibility of being called to do that type of work with that medicine. It's a lot. At this point in time, I did not understand what the DMT was trying to do, but it was trying to teach me how to use it in the most beneficial way possible. But I ended up doing it way too frequently. I ended up having an experience that really just kind of, I wouldn't say that it wasn't a bad trip. It didn't scare me or anything. It was really intense, and it was the most intense DMT trip that I had ever had, and it was a lot darker in nature. Generally, when I do DMT, it is very light. It is very positive. But this trip was on Changa, actually, and it was dark. And after this experience, I realized that I needed to step away from it for a moment because I didn't understand how to use it. Even now, to this day, I'm still feeling that call to do it all the time. I'm always wanting to enter into that realm and do work with that medicine and the beings that reside in that realm. But I've learned that doing that too much is not good for my brain. As I said, I feel very connected to DMT. DMT is actually my spirit plant. I essentially hold the same frequency as the DMT does. So I quite literally feel like I belong there. So when I do DMT, it honestly feels like I am returning home, like my real home. But I have also come to realize that I came here to Earth with a mission. During one of my Changa experiences, it was communicated to me that I came here to do work. And that's essentially the work that I'm trying to do now with my Instagram and with this YouTube. I came here with a mission to help people, and I have been granted permission to frequently be able to go back and visit, but I'm here to do my work, and I always have to come back, unfortunately. Since this whole experience with not really understanding the calling to DMT and how to manage it, I have learned to manage it. There's a time and place, and it lets me know when it's time. Well, I think that that's all I have to say on that. Thank you so much for watching. Much love and many blessings.